Hello and welcome to the Second Tier Podcast. I'm Ryan Dilks and I'm joined by the recording an episode in a shirt and blazer to my recording an episode in a football shirt. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are once again donning our shirt and blazer for an episode because that means it's an award episode here at the Second Tier. We are going through the best of the best in the Championship this season. Justin, you getting a bit warm over there in your blazer?
Good grief, it is boiling. I think it's come at a time as well where the temperature's increased by about 7 or 8 degrees outside. So therefore, no air conditioning, no fan in the old bedroom studio. It is stuffy, it is warm, but who the hell cares? We're here delivering football God's work.
Exactly. We've got to look smart for this occasion, but I can understand why you are feeling so warm with the amount of hot air you blow all the time. But on this occasion, we are in agreement with this because we have whittled down the best of the Championship this season, haven't we? We've had long discussions about who we think should win each award. So we're very excited to reveal the winners to you now, ladies and gentlemen. With that being said, welcome along to the number one Championship podcast, the Second Tier. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. Yes, as we say, we'll be revealing all the awards here today. We'll be talking about Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season, Permanent Signing of the Season, Loan Signing of the Season, amongst others as well. But of course, Justin, we may as well crack things open with a big one, and it's Manager of the Season. So can you reveal to our wonderful, wonderful listeners who we have selected as our Manager of the Season in the Championship?
I wonder why you've asked me to reveal this just before we get started. Is there a reason?
Just because, I've done the intro, so I've been talking for a while, but maybe because I also want to hear it out of your mouth who our Manager of the Season is.
You want me to say it with gritted teeth? Not gritted teeth, I'm going to say it with open mouth and joy. Our Manager of the Season is Kieran McKenna of Ipswich Town. As I say, I like how you made me say it first, but to Kieran McKenna's credit, he's delivered promotion, an unlikely promotion, we should add, or unlikely in other people's eyes. You back them all the way, as you will want everybody to know.
The Ipswich are going up tractor, baby.
There we go. I did suggest Marty Cifuentes and Danny Rule should be in the mix a few weeks ago, but honestly, I think you just have to go for Kieran McKenna by default, because to be able to deliver a promotion for a team coming up from League One, I think is an incredibly difficult thing to do. League One, Championship, Premier League in 2 seasons is just mind-blowing. Really, there's no other way of describing it. I think as well as that, the amount of points they accrued, they didn't just go up with 85 points, they accrued 96. That's an incredible return. It's more than Fulham in 21-22. They had 40-goal Alexander Mitrovic in that team. They had Harry Wilson, who they spent big money on. That team was full of very wealthy, well-earning players. They've spent a lot of money on Fulham. Then you got Leeds in 1920. It was more than Leeds in 1920, in the 1920 campaign under Marcelo Bielsa, and more than Newcastle in the 16-17 season under Champions League winner Rafa Benitez. Come on. Kieran McKenna's outdone them all. He's outdone Marcelo Bielsa, Marco Silva and Rafa Benitez. This Ipswich team has been a well-coached, well-drilled, well-oiled, well-organised team. And I don't think we'll see a team do this probably for another 10 years, if that. Might be more, because I think just everything, stars have got to align. You've got to have a good manager, good squad, good style of play, good ownership. Ipswich have that, but Kieran McKenna has been the man that's delivered it.
He absolutely has. I'm not sure what more we have to add that we haven't already talked about in Sunday's episode or across the entire season for that matter, because what Kieran McKenna has done at Ipswich this season is the single greatest achievement in Championship history. The first team to complete back-to-back promotions to the top flight in 12 years, and doing it with, by and large, the same squad, playing the best football in the league by a country mile, and doing it against three teams with the biggest budgets and strongest squads we've ever seen at this level. And look, we've seen some incredible achievements by other managers in the division this season. Some of those achievements would be worthy of winning this award in a normal season, but unfortunately they've come against a manager who's simply blown everyone else out of the water, and it truly has been stunning. And it's going to be a shame that we can't talk about Kieran McKenna more, because the season's over now. They've got the promotion in the bag, and I'm so excited to see where his career goes next, because I think we are talking about a truly elite coach here, Justin, or someone who's going to go on to become a truly elite coach. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I think he's going to go to the top. I think if you if you consider where he's come from, obviously a youth coach at Man United, Jose Mourinho sounded him out, promoted him to the first team coaching. Jose Mourinho's no mug, let's be honest. His coaching tree is quite astonishing, the amount of coaches that have come from playing under him, that have developed from playing under him and then coming into coaching themselves. I think there's no coincidence there. Obviously under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well, but less said about that, the better. I think if you catch the eye of one of the all-time greats in Jose Mourinho, I think you're going to go a long way. And I think as well as that, McKenna took a risk in going down to Ipswich in League One because they're 11th, they were languishing, didn't really feel like there's any direction, and then he just took it by the scruff of the neck and ran with it. And I think the most incredible thing about Kieran McKenna is he's so bloody modest. He's so modest. He doesn't take any credit. It's just ridiculous. He just wants to go and go and go and go. And that is an elite mindset. You do not get that from many other managers.
Yeah, he's so calm, cool and collected, isn't he? And the only time we've ever seen any sign of frustration from him was when he was punching the plexiglass in the whole dugout a couple of weeks ago. But apart from that, that's just it. And I think that goes a long way to helping his team stay calm on the ball, and that's why they've been so beautiful to watch this season. You were talking about their points tally a bit earlier, Justin, and I've just checked it now. Ipswich have got the biggest points tally ever for a second place side in Championship history. That's pretty mad, isn't it? Only 7 teams in Championship history have won more points in a season than this Ipswich team. Yeah. And keep in mind everything that we've said there, where they haven't gone out there and, bought the world. It just goes to show how ridiculous achievement this really is. Honourable mentions then for Manager of the Season, Danny Rule, Marty Cifuentes. Considering both clubs aren't the best run, it's amazing that they made 2 of the most inspired mid-season appointments you'll ever see, because both those 2 looked like they were going down at one stage, and then those 2 managers came in and changed everything, didn't they? Yeah. 2 brilliant achievements by those 2. And Carlos Corberán as well, someone I think is massively overlooked in terms of, manager of the season, because what he's done with West Brom this season with very little resources is pretty astonishing in its own right. So, yeah, I think he definitely deserves a shout as well. Very high standard of managers in the Championship this season in terms of their individual achievements. And as we were alluding to not too long ago, it's just unfortunate that they were behind Kieran McKenna, who's pulled off a minor miracle this season. Justin, let's go on to our next award. It's Goal of the Season. And it's another Ipswich-themed winner. Wes Burns, and his goal against Coventry was the winner here. Now, I'm sure anyone who uses X or Twitter has seen this goal 1,000 times now. I mean, I've seen it 1,000,000 times, but that was completely my own free will, just because I watch it to send me to sleep at night. It's simply a thing of beauty. It calms me to the soul. But look, there's 2 parts to this goal, really. You've got the first section, which is simply McKenna ball at its finest. Ipswich go from their own 6-yard box to the feet of Wes Burns in 8 passes. And they start off by doing these 1-2 touch triangles. They play it down the line to Connor Chaplin, who does this lovely switch of play to Leif Davis on the left-hand side. And we were alluding to it in our team of the season. It's a passage of play we've seen 1,000,000 times, isn't it, Justin? But it's just so effective. And so Davis is free to carry the ball 30 yards or so. Then he switches the play again to Wes Burns. And Ipswich are suddenly on the edge of the Coventry box. Burns gets the ball. He cuts inside and he's got a bit of space. Now, most players would shoot with their left foot in that scenario. But I was looking into this. Wes Burns isn't the most 2-footed of players. Of the 53 shots he's had this season, only 3 of them have been with his left foot. So instead, he hits it with his right foot, the outside of his right foot. A trivela, if you're down with the kids. And that ball bends so much and goes right in the top corner. It's a once-in-a-lifetime goal. And even if it was just the trivela, Justin, it would win goal of the season.
Oh, yeah.
The build-up, though, makes it all the more superb. And for me, it's a big shout. It's in the top 5 goals ever scored at Championship level. What do you think?
It's a really good debate to have. I do think that. I think, is it the Barry Bannon goal against Aston Villa for Sheffield Wednesday? Do you harp on about that being the best? Am I wrong?
John McGinn for Villa.
John McGinn. Do you harp on about that being the best one?
Still the best one for me. I always think it's the best one. Yeah.
Wow. Because I think this Wes Burns goal is much better than that. It's much better than that.
Completely entitled to that opinion, Justin. I mean,
yeah.
I love this goal so much. I just think the John McGinn one just tops it. But, that's up for a debate the other day. It's all down to personal preference.
It is. You're absolutely right. But this one did come in a victory, which I think, it goes a very, very long way. It goes a very, very long way. But this goal, I think there's a pitch side angle of it, isn't there, where it really do see the bend on the ball. It's quite bonkers, really, how much bend there is on the ball, and to be able to do that while running forwards at a relative pace, to then control a shot so elegantly and exceptionally, and just nailed on top bins, I think is it's probably one of the most difficult techniques you can try and pull off. And to do that at this level in a competitive season against a good team, it doesn't happen. Doesn't happen often. I've never seen it while sat down at Pride Park. I don't think I ever will, to be honest with you. Let's be honest.
No, I don't think you will either.
There's a reason why I've never seen it, but that's nonetheless, I've been to see a lot of football matches, and I've never seen it. I've never witnessed that sort of goal. So Ipswich fans, Coventry fans, very, very lucky to have seen that, although a bit Coventry on the other end of it.
I think if that was scored against me, I'd just stand up and clap.
Yeah.
Because it's just that good, isn't it? The ball bends so much. It's initially going a good 5 yards wide of the post, and then it ends up properly in the top bin. It's delightful. And Burns said after the game that Kieran McKenna actually had a go at him for not using his left foot.
There we go.
He said he's tried the Trivela loads of times in training and it never came off, but then just thought in the moment, why not? And I'm bloody glad he did try it. McKenna himself said at the time that it's his favourite goal so far as Ipswich manager. That may have changed with the way they've won the league.
They've scored a lot.
They have scored a lot of goals. So, he's got a fair selection to choose from. But it's an easy winner of goal of the season. Honourable mentions, the only one that really can even hold a candle to the Burns goal was Joe Rothwell's volley for Southampton from the edge of the box. The technique on that was absolutely filthy. But even then, it's still a way off this goal, I'm afraid, because Wes Burns he had goal of the season in the bag, didn't he, as soon as the ball left his foot. Yeah, exactly. Justin, this is probably one of my favourite awards that we do in this show, and it's not one that I've given much billing to, but it's definitely one that I think deserves recognition. It's the Shithouse of the Season award. Who have we got winning this prestigious award this year?
There's only one candidate for this, mainly because the amount of times he's been a shithouse just this season and throughout his career, but just this season. I've got some examples I'm going to reel off once I name the mystery player. It's Jamie bloody Vardy of Leicester City. Now, everyone will be going, well, you picked Jamie Vardy because it's an obvious one. He did the seagull thing against, I think it was against Palace, or the eagle wings against Palace. He obliterated the corner flag against Sheffield United. He's just a shithouse by nature. But this season, he's got a long catalogue of shithousing against his name. And the man is 38. He's 38 years old. Is he middle-aged? He's probably middle-aged for Jamie Vardy because his diet's not great. But he's nearly 40. This is a near 40-year-old man still able to freely boil the piss of grown men and women in stands. It is incredible. And not only that, he's turning kids against them. He's making kids know that football's not fair. Football's not fair. It doesn't go your way. Some examples I've got is the Bristol City celebration. He did the old wings. The Preston goal a couple of weeks ago, he just obliterates the ball into the top roof of the net from 3 yards out. No need to do it, but he did it for whatever reason. I think it's some shithousing there. He gave it to the Hull fans after scoring a penalty as well. He stopped in front of the Blackburn fans at Ewood Park with a bit of a phone sign and then showing his name on the back of his shirt. This list is endless this season. It's just, there's only one winner, and it's Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, well, we brought this award in last season to honour Sunderland's Luke O'Nien for a landmark year in shithousery, and I wondered if anyone else would ever win it. Well, that was before the GOAT of shithousery arrived on the scene, because the man is a pioneer of the art, an innovator, if you will, and will surely go down as one of the true greats when it comes to that big house made of shit. Because just so many classic moments. You mentioned him unnecessarily smashing the ball into the roof of the net the other week to, win the league against Preston. When he had an open goal, smashing it so hard he fell on his arse. And then you mentioned some of the times he celebrated in front of the opposition fans. You forgot to mention when he was at home to Bristol City this season, where the fans were chanting, "Jamie Vardy, your wife is a grass." And so when he inevitably scored against them, he ran the entire length of the pitch to celebrate in front of them. And he led the celebrations after they won the title. And in one video, there's a couple of players dancing in the changing rooms afterwards. You can hear Vardy in the background talking to Wanya Marcel, who's a young winger, not played too much this season. Vardy very loudly says to him, "Wanya, you've done fuck all season, get up and dance." And, even his shithousery even stretches to things off the pitch as well. Earlier this week, during Leicester's bus parade, we posted a video on the second tier Twitter of him spotting a Leeds fan in the crowd and him giving that Leeds fan the middle finger. And, Radio 2 were doing a sort of festival in Leicester earlier this year, or earlier in the season anyway. Vardy got on stage, he gets the microphone and says, "Where are the Tottenham fans? Still got no bottle." This is a man who's accomplished the dreams of countless footballers. It's an inspiration to loads of young players in non-league, yet he still enjoys the finer things in life, like riling up the opposition supporters whenever he gets the chance. It's simply glorious, and he is living my dream of just being able to be bloody good at football and rubbing it in the faces of every single person there. It's absolutely superb.
He's living his best footballing life, isn't he? And that's what it is.
He really is.
When you come from non-league, I suppose you've got to take care of things. You've got to really savour the moments. Christ, he does savour the moments, and he takes it to another level. And as I say, I think it's a new form of shithousing, isn't it? Because he's just there to rile up fans. I don't think he really gives it players like Luke O'Nien does. He gives it the fans, and I think that's where you really, really take the accolade of Shithouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, let's take a quick break. After that, we'll reveal our winners of the following awards: Permanent Signing of the Season, Loan Signing of the Season, Young Player of the Season, and of course, Player of the Season. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast, and it's now time for us to continue our Second Tier awards, and we'll go on to Permanent Signing of the Season. Justin, who have we got winning this?
I oozed over him in the previous episode because he's included in that as well. It's Morgan Whittaker of Plymouth Argyle. And like I said, I've mentioned his goal return in our team of the season. 19 goals. It's just ridiculous. But this lad cost £1 million. And his goals have been a catalyst in keeping a football club in a championship, in a division. You will hit the category of signing of the season if you can do that. It's all about value here. It's all about value. I think in any other player who's going to deliver sort of near 20 goals and certainly over 20 goal contributions in a season, he's going to cost you £7 or £8 million. Morgan Whittaker was £1 million. He was a club record signing for Plymouth. So for him to come in, step up and do what he's done, it's just been brilliant. It's been brilliant. It's been good to see him develop as well, because being a Derby fan, I watched him physically. He was unable to adapt to Championship football, but he was still really raw, and he had so much technical quality. And he's been able to adapt over time. A couple of seasons in League One on loan at Lincoln and Plymouth, I think, has done that. And that's set him up really, really well to be a Championship player. And for me, I think there's only one name who came into it with permanent signing this season. He's flexible, he's composed, he can hit a thunder bastard as well. Easily coached, and his continual development shows that. So what a player he's been for Argyle this season, and what a signing he's been as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think we both earmarked this at the start of the season as the signing of the summer, because £1 million just seemed like an absolute steal for a young lad who had torn League One apart in the half a season that he was there. But even though we highlighted it, I'm not sure we ever imagined him doing as well as he has done. Swansea's transfer business from the past year has been heavily criticised by their supporters, but this must be their biggest crime of all. They have absolutely had their pants down here.
Yeah.
Because, it says a lot that he was attracting a lot of interest from Lazio over in Italy in the winter, and Plymouth even reportedly turned down a bid for him. But 19 goals for the season is an incredible return for £1 million. It's effectively kept them up, so he's more than repaid them that money. And I think there'll be a few clubs looking at him again this summer, even if he has been a bit quiet in recent months. As we say, he's not been as deadly in front of goal as he was earlier in the season, but still, you can't bat an eyelid at 19 goals for a season. It's just ridiculous. And if there is quite a bit of interest in him in the summer, Justin, it could mean Plymouth make a very healthy profit on him, couldn't they?
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm sort of thinking around £15 million might be enough to turn my head if I'm in the Plymouth ownership, maybe more. As I say, if you score near 20 goals in a season, you can expect Ollie Watkins was a 25 goal a season player, and he went for 25-30 million pounds to Aston Villa, didn't he? It's that level of quality. Victor Gyökeres is another one. So if
considering Watkins only 23 as well.
Exactly, he's got time to go. I'm not saying he can follow in the footsteps of Ollie Watkins, but look, if he's developed as much as he has done over the last 18 months, think about what he can do over the next 18 months. If he can find his feet and keep going, I think he's got a very, very high ceiling, and that's so exciting. It's exciting for Plymouth. It's exciting for us as Championship experts because we get to see a player who's come from the Championship to potentially develop into a good player in the Premier League as well. So, yeah, what a guy, what a player. Local Derby lad as well, which is always nice. It's always nice. He's one of us. One of us. Honourable mentions then for signing of the season, permanent signing of the season. Ethan Ampadu at Leeds, Jayden Philogene at Hull. Two players who have had really good seasons in their own right, but cost a hell of a lot more than Morgan Whittaker, didn't they? So there was only ever one winner of this, I'm afraid. In terms of pure bargain territory, Morgan Whittaker properly fits the tee, doesn't he? Loan signing of the season then. We have gone with Abdul Fatawu at Leicester City. Now, I will be honest, when Fatawu joined Leicester, I didn't know much about him. It seemed like a bit of a panic signing, actually, because they got him in the final days of the summer transfer window, and it felt like they were just desperate to sign a right winger. However, I actually think he's turned out to be their best signing of the season, and of course, as we said, the best loan signing of the season in the whole Championship. He's a special player, only turned 20 a couple of months ago, but is destined to go on to great things. A lovely dribbler, but also a great chance creator. I mean, he's got 13 assists for the season, crying out loud. So as the season has gone on, he's scored some important goals too. He's really grown into the campaign. He seemed quite raw to begin with, but has developed into one of Leicester's most important and consistent players, which isn't something which usually happens with a young winger, is it? They don't tend to be very consistent, but he definitely has been. He's a very exciting player who looks like he's got a big future ahead of him. It's turned out to be a brilliant signing from a Leicester perspective, hasn't it, Justin? Well, it's almost the way he's developed. It took him a bit of time to get going. Really, it probably wasn't until sort of mid to late December that he really picked up and started contributing in terms of assists. I know he scored a couple of goals before then, but in terms of assists, he really got going. And I think if you want to really sort of throw a rope out there, I think Fatawu is one of those players, especially in the final stages of this season, probably got Leicester over the line, probably carried Leicester into the Premier League, because Steffi Mavridi's form dropped off a little bit, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall's form dropped off a little bit. They didn't have a reliable goal scorer. I know Jamie Vardy scored a decent amount of goals, but he was missing a lot of chances as well. So when you've got a player like Abdul Fatawu who can be a spark in games, like we've spoken about Crescencio Somerville in the previous episode, when you've got a spark like that, you need that to carry over the line in tight games, and he did that. You only got to look at his impact against Southampton, which was a real pivotal game for Leicester, a 5-0 win. He scored a hat-trick. It was a beautiful hat-trick as well. I think he more than deserves his accolade of loan signing of the season.
He absolutely does, and this is a lovely story, Justin. I don't know if you've seen this. Fatawu's club in Ghana that he was at from the age of 15, Steadfast FC. They play in the second tier of Ghana. They let Fatawu join Sporting Lisbon in 2022. Now, they let him go for free because they didn't want to stand in his way, but they did agree to a clause which means they'll get 50% of the profit on his next transfer. And with Leicester now securing promotion, it's believed there's a clause that means they now have to sign him on a permanent for 14 million. So Steadfast FC over in Ghana are set to get £7 million if everything plans out the way that is expected. The previous biggest fee they ever got for a player was 25 grand. That is unbelievable, isn't it? Just a lovely story that makes Fatawu's success this season all the more pleasing because everyone's benefiting in this scenario. Honourable mentions then for loan signing of the season. Amari Hutchinson at Ipswich. I mean, he's been ridiculous over the past few months, and he took a bit of time for him to get going, and maybe could have pushed Fatawu quite well. Maybe may have even topped Fatawu in terms of loan signing of the season had he done it all campaign. But he's been one of Ipswich's best players in the past few months. And Joe Rodon at Leeds as well. Quite easy to forget that he's on loan at Leeds. But he's definitely worthy of an honourable mention as well. Justin, let's go on to Young Player of the Season in the Championship. We'll add a caveat here. We're doing 21 or younger. Now, that's all I'm going to say on that, because people may, look at that and think, too old, whatever. I don't think so. I think 21 is still counted as very much a young player, so worthy of winning this award anyway. I'm rambling. Justin, who have we gone for as Young Player of the Season?
Well, I was just going to add that the PFA do it to like 24, 25, don't they? Which you are not
exactly.
Young.
That's too old.
Too old. We'd give it to children.
Basically middle-aged at that stage.
As a footballer you are. We don't give this award to adults, we give it to kids. And Johnny Rowe is Young Player of the Season for Norwich City. Now, I think, he's had a hamstring injury since February, so he's been out. But I think he really stepped up when Norwich needed him. Josh Sargent got injured. There's a lack of goals coming from that team. And I do think in terms of players aged 21 and under, there hasn't been a consistent player that's really got near Johnny Rowe this season for the entire campaign. I think if he didn't get injured in February, I think he'd have scored more goals and created more goals. So for him to have a really good season up until his injury, I think is a testament to him, because he really stepped up. It's his first full campaign for Norwich. It's something that's got to be really shouted about. He wasn't, he made a few substitute appearances last season. He wasn't in the squad. He wasn't really contributing. He wasn't really there. But he's come in this season. He's taken the league by storm. And as I say, he stepped up when Josh Sargent was injured. And again, I've said it for previous players. Norwich would be nowhere near the top six if it wasn't for his goals. His link-up play and his almost telepathic relationship with Gabriel Sara at times was really, really important, and brilliantly as well. Scored a really, really good brace against Ipswich earlier on in the season, the biggest game of the season so far for Norwich. So hopefully he can come in for the playoffs and have an impact, and have a big impact, because he deserves the chance to do so.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it, that he's missed so much of the season through injury, because otherwise he'd properly be involved in the conversation for Team of the Season, maybe even more than that. Yeah. But look, Rose, another one who I didn't know too much about before this season, as you say, Justin. This was his first real full season at professional level. And I think I could be let off for not really knowing too much about him, because he had only played 3 games for Norwich last season. Yeah. Then he was all of a sudden given a chance in the first team on the opening day, and has been an automatic starter, injury permitting. 12 goals scored from 25 starts is a cracking return from someone who only turned 21 literally last week. He spent the vast majority of the season as a 20-year-old, and has been one of the standout players, not just in this Norwich team, but as far as midfielders go. And if it wasn't for injuries, who knows how many goals he would have scored. He might have even been in the conversation for top goal scorer. Yeah. So he's proven to be a real success story from Norwich's academy, having been there since he was 11. And I'm hoping that we'll see him play a big role in the playoffs, because he's just come back from injury, as you say, Justin, after having 2 months on the sidelines. He fully deserves the chance to have an impact on such a big stage like the playoffs, and it'll be a big boost for Norwich heading into their biggest games of the season, won't it?
Well, that's it. It's all about timing, isn't it? And if you can come back and have a semblance of the impact he's had earlier on in the season, then he's Norwich are in a really good position, a really healthy position. They've got Josh Sargent back, boy signs, Gabriel Sara, an abundance of players. And if Johnny Rowe comes back, that Arsenal they've got going forwards into the playoffs, good grief, that is going to be an interesting one.
It absolutely is. Honourable mentions for Young Player of the Season: Abdul Fatawu, who we were just talking about then. Unbelievable season at Leicester. Amari Hutchinson, also spoke about him then. Another player who's had a great season for such a young lad. And then, we're talking about young lads. None of them come much younger and have played more games this season than Leeds United's Archie Gray, who I'm sure Leeds fans will probably be a bit upset about him not getting the nod for this award. And while he has had a ridiculous season for someone who has been 17, 18 this season, played virtually every game for Leeds, hasn't looked phased at all, playing in playing for one of the biggest teams in the whole country, in fact the world. He's had a brilliant season, but I think he's someone his potential is absolutely limitless. But in terms of if you're looking for who's been the best player aged 21 or younger this season, Johnny Rowe gets the nod for me, Justin Hanty. Well, we've got to our final award, Justin, of the 23-24 second tier awards, and of course it's Player of the Season. Now, it's got to be said, this was a close one. In recent seasons, there has always been an obvious shout for Player of the Season, like Chuba Akpom last season, Alexander Mitrovic, Emi Buendia. It was trickier this season, but Justin, you and I both agreed that Crescencio Somerville of Leeds United is the worthy winner. And if he wasn't in this Leeds side, it could have gone very wrong for them this season. On countless occasions, he has been the man to make things happen. And I've often felt sorry for whichever pathetic right-back has had to come up against him. And even in games where he's not been on it, all it takes is a brief moment for him to produce something that absolutely changes the game. A moment of magic where he cuts inside, curls it into the top right corner. He's a superb player who should have never been playing in the Championship in the first place. And Leeds know if they don't go up, they won't have him next season. Even if they do go up, they probably won't have him next season either. He's destined to play at a higher level, and this season has shown that, Justin.
Yeah, and I think as well you've got to point out the goals that he scored at key times, the pressure he's had to shoulder. Sometimes the penalty against Hull, for example, 88th minute. It's a big pressure penalty, a huge pressure penalty, and he steps up and he delivers. To do that at the age he is I think is astonishing. He's still only 22, going to be 23 in October, so he's still young, still developing, still quite raw. But as I say, just the goals he scored at key times for Leeds, I think has been huge, and as you pointed out, is a really important point. Almost been heavily relied upon too much for Leeds because they haven't had an out-and-out goal scorer. Joel Pirro's been so. Patrick Bamford's been so. Jorginho Rutta's not scored the amount of goals he should have scored this season. So Somerville's had to deliver. He's had to deliver. There's been such a huge amount of pressure on his shoulders, and he's done that. So, and I know Leeds didn't finish in the top two in the end, but if you compare him to Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, for example, Somerville's done it for the entire season. There are other players we can compare him to, but the way Somerville's delivered it, stepped up, and just the consistency, just the ability to take players on, give Leeds a bit of a break in games as well, because you can just put the ball into his feet and he'll do something with it. I think you've got to be lucky. You're fortunate if you have a player like that.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're spot on with the point you were making, Justin, about Leeds being a bit over reliant on him. They shouldn't be, but because he is just so bloody good, it's meant that on plenty of occasions this season they've turned to him and said, Crescencio, can you bail us out here, please, mate? And he's more than done that on plenty of occasions. And look, I know Leeds didn't finish in the top two in the end, but we are talking about a Leeds side here who have got the biggest points tally ever for a side not to get automatically promoted. Yeah. And a large part of that has been down to Crescencio Somerville being by far and away Leeds' best attacking player. And I think the peak of his ability was really shown around October, November, December time, where he was scoring just about every week, or at least setting a goal up. Defenders just couldn't get a handle on him, and that's when he was, playing at some of the best levels we've ever seen from a player at this level. So Crescencio Somerville, I think, is deserving of Player of the Season. And it's going to be fascinating to see how his career develops from here, because it's absolutely frightening that he is still only 22. Crazy. Honourable mentions, plenty of players deserve a mention here. You are fighting quite hard, Justin, for Gabriel Sara to be included as our Player of the Season. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, of course, has had a remarkable season in his own right. Adam Armstrong, he couldn't have done much more in terms of the goals and assists that he's provided for Southampton this season. Sammy Schmodic has had the season of his life. And then Leif Davis as well. As far as fullbacks go, you can't do much more than what he's done, nearly equaling the record for assists in a season. Not just for a defender, for any player. He couldn't have done much more from left back. He definitely deserves a mention, but plenty of players would have been worthy winners of Player of the Season here. But I think Crescencio for Somerville, He's just put them on the line, hasn't he, for that prestigious award. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the Second Tier Awards 23-24. And what an awards it has been. What a season it's been. But it's not over yet, ladies and gentlemen. The playoffs are just around the corner. We'll be back again tomorrow with our preview show, looking ahead to the semi-finals. So we really look forward to seeing you then for that. But this has been the Second Tier Podcast. I have been Ryan Dilks.
I have been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.